Tunda 9. A forgotten moon orbiting a dead star in the far edge of the Draxon spiral. No civilizations. No settlements. No heat. No light. Just a silent wasteland of snow, jagged ice ridges, and magnetic storms so wild they scrambled drone optics and warped sound itself. It was the kind of place where even time froze. And somewhere in that blizzard-covered hellscape, a single distress beacon pulsed, weak, flickering, human. The Galactic Council didn't hesitate. They deployed a strike team within hours. Not just any team. They sent the Obsidian Spy, an elite force of 80 soldiers engineered for war. Their armor was carbon-forged, black as void, laced with self-healing polymers and magnetic shielding. Neural uplinks allowed them to function as one mind. They were battle-tested on nightmare planets, known for storming rebel cities and wiping insurgent colonies clean in hours. They had never lost a mission. And yet, every single one of them was uneasy the moment they stepped onto Tunda 9. Not that they'd admit it. "Snow's a joke," one muttered, stomping down the landing ramp. "We've burned through oceans. What's some frozen rock gonna do?" The leader of the Obsidian Spy, Commander Krell, dropped next, the metal of his boots cracking the ice like a judge's gavel. His voice, low and cold, cut through the howling wind. "One human. Crash survivor. No support. Let's not drag this out." They deployed in formation, spreading across the icy flats in controlled units of 10. Patrol drones zipped overhead, mapping terrain. Mechs crawled forward to scan for structural hazards. A full planetary sweep, overkill for a single Terran castaway. But this wasn't about strategy. It was about message. Humans were to stay broken, weak, controlled. Any survivor operating off-grid was a threat, a spark in dry kindling. The Council had seen sparks before. They never let them burn. By hour 2, they found the escape pod. A twisted hunk of Terran alloy half buried in snow, scarred by fire and time. Sensors picked up faint traces of life support having functioned. Once. Long dead now. "Looks like he froze to death," muttered Lieutenant Farah, tapping on the twisted hull with his gauntlet. "End of mission." Krell shook his head. "No body. No confirmation. Keep searching." They widened the search grid. Squads moved across glacial cliffs and dense snow fields, their heat scanners pulsing. They were disciplined, focused, but not ready. They didn't notice the first drone go silent. No explosion. No alarm. Just gone. Then the second dropped from the sky, spinning, sparks hissing from its torn circuitry. Still, no enemy detected. "Must be weather," a soldier said, adjusting his sensor. Then they found Trooper Kale, buried beneath 10 feet of snow. Spine broken. Helmet caved in from behind. No blast. No burn. Just one brutal, clean strike, like a predator had been stalking him in the white. His weapon hadn't even been drawn. "Something's wrong," Sergeant Yarrow growled, eyeing the shattered remains of the trooper's armor. "This ain't weather." A hum buzzed over the comms. A voice. Calm. Human. "Snow's quiet. Until it kills." They all froze. It wasn't interference. It wasn't malfunction. It was someone speaking directly into their secured frequency. Krell's jaw clenched. Trace the signal. But the signal didn't repeat. Just static. And then, bang. No plasma. No explosive. Just a sharp, brutal crack. Around. Old school. Analog. It punched straight through Lieutenant Farah's visor and dropped him like a sack of meat. Blood sprayed against the ice. "Sniper," someone shouted. But there was no flash. No heat signature. No motion. Just the sound. Raw. Primitive. Metal on metal. Something the Obsidian Spear hadn't heard in decades. Bullets. The elite soldiers scattered, taking cover behind jagged ice ridges. Their armor began auto-calibrating for kinetic threats, something most hadn't used in cycles. Krell barked orders, voice cold but tight. "Fan out. Sweep East Ridge." His using terrain cover. Squad B to move first. 10 warriors trained for recon assaults. They didn't make it 100 steps. Crack. One went down. Throat hit. Crack. Another, chest shot, straight through reinforced plating. Crack. Helmet shatter. Head gone. No flares. No light. Just the echo of death in the snow. "What is this?" screamed Yarrow, ducking behind cover as another round whizzed overhead. "Old tech," Krell muttered, fury rising. "Undetectable by modern scans. Doesn't show on heat, doesn't trigger plasma alarms." He looked at Farah's body. There, embedded in the metal chest plate, was a bullet, copper-jacketed, etched into the casing. Yes. They'd heard the stories. Most dismissed them as myth. Propaganda from Earth's darker years. A ghost. A phantom. A human sniper left behind during the Draxon collapse. Said to have survived entire wars alone. Said to use antique Terran weapons too outdated to detect. Said to move with the storm and strike from beyond visual range. Said to be dead. Always, still watching. They called him the Rusted Sniper. "No way," a trooper whispered, shaking. But the bullets said otherwise. Another body dropped. Then another. And another. Until the ridge was painted in red. 17 gone in less than an hour. Each one dropped from a new angle, new elevation. The sniper was moving with the storm. "Pull back to the pod site," Krell ordered. "Form a kill box." They regrouped, those who were left. 33 remaining. Dozens dead. The camp was eerily silent. No sound except the wind. And that voice again. "Armor's loud. Snow's not. I can hear your fear." Then silence. The kind that sunk into bone. Yarrow looked down at one of the bullets retrieved from a corpse. It was warped. Old. Handmade. Carved into the shell. One by one. He turned to Krell. "This ain't just survival. This is a hunt." Krell didn't answer. He couldn't. He knew it was true. This wasn't a broken human trying to live. This was a monster. A myth. A legend born in snow. And they had landed in his domain. Back on the ridge, another drone came back online. For 3 seconds, it showed a thermal signature moving across the ice. Just a blur. Cold. Blending in. Then it zoomed. A humanoid figure. Tattered cloak. Rifle across his back that looked centuries old. Handmade modifications. Iron sights. No scope. No AI. Then, the feed cut. Last frame captured. A skull-like visor, half frozen. And the faintest grin beneath it. By nightfall, Obsidian Spear had lost 41 soldiers. And not one of them had seen the sniper. Not even once. Krell stared into the black storm beyond the camp's makeshift perimeter. His elite forces were silent now. No jokes. No laughter. Only trembling hands and loaded rifles. Waiting. Praying they wouldn't hear that next crack. But the storm whispered like a demon. And the voice came back one last time that night. "Your tech rusts. Your fire dies. I don't." Thunder 9 wasn't just cold. It listened. And every metallic footstep, every exhale behind a visor, every mechanical ping of gear scraping ice, it all echoed back through the canyons, announcing the presence of prey. The Obsidian Spear's numbers had dropped from 80 to 33 in a single afternoon. Now, it was midnight. No one slept. Not that anyone could, not with that thing out there. Krell crouched in the half-frozen pod site, staring at the lifeless remains of Lieutenant Farah. The bullet hole through the helmet was small, surgical. A single shot had ended one of the Council's best tacticians. Armor didn't help. Speed didn't help. Drones didn't help. Their technology was blinded on this planet. And the wind howled like a beast that knew their names. Signal command. Krell barked into the comlink, trying to maintain control. Reinforcements. Satellite support. Anything. No transmission, Yarrow whispered grimly. Ion storms ramped up. Same pattern as 3 hours ago. Krell's grip tightened around his weapon. He knows our satellite intervals. His timing the kills. How? Yarrow hissed. Krell didn't answer. He didn't need to. Because deep down, they were all beginning to understand. This wasn't just a sniper. This was a predator who'd lived in this storm. One who breathed the frost, who had danced in the kill zones before any of them were born. 500 hours. Squad Delta tried to flank northward, hoping to take higher ground. They never made it. First came the flashbangs, ancient Terran tech, blinding and analog, ignored by modern armor systems. Then the tripwires, spun from metal wire and animal bone, invisible in the snow. Then the gunfire. Not just sniper rounds, close-range shots. His in the ridge. One trooper screamed before a round split his jaw in half. A second fell back into the snow, eyes wide with horror. They weren't being sniped from afar anymore. The rusted sniper had come closer. His in the wind, screamed another soldier, firing wildly into the storm. The bullets hit nothing. Only snow answered back, as it always did. Silent. White. Waiting. By the time backup reached the ridge, all 10 members of Delta's squad were gone. Some were frozen stiff. Others had their throats slit. A few were hanging from jagged ice pillars, posed like broken marionettes, mockery. Art. In one of their mouths, jammed deep between the teeth, was another hand-carved bullet casing. It read, "Run." Panic set in. Even among the elite. Troopers twitched at every sound. Visors shook. No one trusted their senses anymore. "It's not tech," Yarrow muttered as they regrouped at the half-frozen camp. "It's instinct. His moving with the snow. He becomes the terrain." "His human," Krell growled, teeth grinding. "Nothing more." Yarrow looked at him, really looked, and shook his head. "Not anymore." 0600 hours. The storm intensified. Visibility dropped to 2 meters. Perfect hunting weather. Krell moved his squads underground, into a buried crevice system below the ice sheets. The hope was simple: bottleneck the sniper. Force him into close quarters. We set traps. Mines. Manual detonators, Krell ordered. He won't sneak past motion detectors here. They deployed perimeter charges, posted sentries, and stayed huddled in silence. Hours passed. No movement. No wind. Then, the charges did go off. Not from the outside, but from the inside. Screams echoed down the tunnel. The lights flickered. Then gunfire. A guttural, mechanical voice boomed through the ice. "You dig deeper. You die colder." Krell sprinted toward the breach point and found carnage. The motion detectors had been rewired. Their own tripwires had been reversed. One of their wounded troopers, half frozen from a previous ambush, had been gutted and left behind with a transmitter jammed into his ribcage. The sniper had sent him back as a weapon, as a message. "You know what this means," Yarrow whispered beside Krell, gripping his rifle like a lifeline. "He was here, inside, while we slept." Krell turned toward him. "We didn't sleep." Yarrow gave a dark chuckle. "Exactly. 17 dead in the tunnels. Only 16 of the original 80 remained. Each time Krell ordered a fallback, another squad vanished. Each time they thought they'd cornered the sniper, he flanked them instead. Each shot was from a new direction. Each kill was deliberate. Personal. "This isn't war anymore," whispered Trooper Nazin, staring at his blood-smeared gloves. "This is a ritual." Then they found the cave. Half hidden behind an avalanche shelf, buried beneath layers of snow. Inside were relics. A broken scope, rusted knives, empty shell casings. Old Terran gear. Mod. Loved. Used. Yarrow held up a metal plate. It was a human dog tag. Worn. Nearly erased. But still readable. Reyes. D. Spec. Recon 9. Earth. Krell stepped forward, silent. He'd heard that name. Long ago, in black sights and hushed whispers. The Deadeye of Draxon. The last Terran sniper deployed during the Draxon Rebellion. Rumored dead after his team was wiped out by orbital strike. But the body was never found. Council records had redacted everything. He was a ghost. Until now. "He was left behind," Yarrow whispered. "No," Krell replied. "He stayed behind." They burned the cave. Laid charges. Buried the past. But it changed nothing. Because now the soldiers weren't just afraid. They were angry. "Let's end this," Yarrow said, gathering the last survivors into a single unit. "All in. Bait him." Krell nodded. "We become the storm." Final operation plan, Operation Icefang. 16 soldiers. 1 sniper. They laid a trap in the largest glacial valley on Tundra 9. They created fake heat signatures. Lured him with false footprints. Buried mines. Flanked his most likely path of attack. They did everything right. For the first time since arriving on this frozen hellscape, they controlled the field. Hours passed. Tension suffocated them. Then, footsteps. Single. Soft. Careful. One trooper raised his rifle, finger shaking on the trigger. No, wait, Krell warned. Let him walk into it. The mines beeped. 3 flashes. Boom. 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 Snow and fire erupted. Target hit. Yarrow shouted, charging forward with 3 others. They found a body. Cloaked. Frostbitten. Human. They turned it over. It wasn't him. It was a corpse, weeks old, rigged with thermal packs. Then, crack. A bullet punched through Yarrow's chest. He gasped, dropped, gurgled blood. Behind them, crack. 2 more fell. Ambush, screamed Krell. But it was too late. The rusted sniper had never taken the bait. They were the bait. Krell ducked behind a rock ridge, pulling one of the wounded to cover. Only 5 of them remained now. They couldn't see him, couldn't hear him. Then static whispered in their comms. That same calm voice. All this tech. All this armor. Still not enough. Krell ripped off his helmet and screamed into the wind. Why? Why are you doing this? There was silence. Then, you left me. Now I leave you all. One final shot. Another body dropped. Fall left. As night fell again, the wind carried laughter. Not loud. Not mocking. Just a low, broken chuckle riding the snow. The kind that came from a soul that had been alone too long. That had become the storm. And in that moment, Krell understood. This wasn't about victory. This was about vengeance. And the snow never forgets. The wind never stopped screaming. Krell knelt beside Yarrow's corpse. The once proud sergeant now slumped in a pool of steaming blood against the snow. The kinetic round had punched through his reinforced armor like wet paper, bisecting his ribcage. The man had died with his eyes open, still trying to locate the ghost that had hunted them all. 4. That was all that remained of the obsidian spay. 7 to 6 dead. Slaughtered across an ice-covered moon by one man. The storm had grown worse, visibility down to less than a meter. Sensors failed. Drones crashed. The cold had claimed even the firepower of the elite. Yet through it all, he hunted with precision, unseen, unheard, and untouchable. The rusted sniper. No one doubted the name now. He wasn't just a myth. He was the storm itself. But Krell wasn't ready to die. Not yet. Not without making the bastard bleed first. New plan, Krell growled, activating a flare charge and tossing it onto the ice. It burned orange against the endless white. We go loud. Force him to react. Private Kex, shaking and frostbitten, muttered, loud? He's been killing us when we're silent. You want to yell at the goddamn ghost. Krell stood, towering over him like a war machine. I want him to come to us. No more running. No more hiding. We trap him. He motioned to the others. They only had 2 functioning exosuits left. The rest had been shredded or lost. Ammunition was low. Power cells near depletion. But they had explosives. A plan began forming. Dangerous, desperate, but the only chance left. Hours later, the valley had been transformed. Krell's squad had turned it into a minefield of traps and improvised weapons. They stripped Yarrow's body for gear, planting his corpse at the center of the field as bait, the same thing the sniper had done to them. You want to play psychological. Krell muttered, wiring charges to his pulse tracker. Let's play psychological. Flamethrower traps were hidden beneath the snowbanks. Auto-sentry turrets, scavenged from downed drones, were linked to tripwires and heat beacons. They even buried thermal packs inside dead soldier suits, hoping to fool his ancient senses. It was all bait. The valley was a theater of death. And this time, Krell would be the one pulling the strings. The hours dragged on. Every flake of snow felt like an omen. Every gust of wind sounded like footsteps. But then, they saw him. A silhouette at the ridge, long rifle across his shoulder. He didn't move like prey. He moved like the world owed him something. Krell raised his scope. No enhanced vision. No locking system. Just his own eyes. He couldn't make out the face, but the figure stood tall. Human. Alone. Him. Rusted cloak. black frost across chest armor, and a rifle that looked like it belonged in a museum, patched together with leather, bone, and steel. He didn't fire. He just stood there, watching. Krell didn't hesitate. Now. The snow erupted with flames and explosions as the mines ignited. Turrets lit up, firing streams of energy and kinetic bursts. Fire streaked across the white. The sniper vanished behind a curtain of smoke and debris. Private Keck screamed, "We got him. We finally." A bullet hit Kex in the throat, straight through his collar. His head snapped back. Blood sprayed. He dropped, twitching. "What? How?" one of the others yelled. A second later, a turret stopped firing. Not because it ran out of ammo. Because it exploded. Sabotaged. Then Krell realized. The sniper hadn't entered the trap. He'd been there before it was set. "Check the flank." Krell roared, pivoting toward the ridge. Too late. Another soldier fell, a knife jammed into the side of his helmet. Handmade, the blade blackened to match the snow. Then came the true horror. They found Kex's body again. Only it wasn't Kex. It was a corpse dressed like Kex. One of them missing. Son of a... Krell turned. Bang. His arm jerked back as a round tore through his shoulder plate. Pain exploded up his spine. He dropped to one knee, gritting his teeth. Another shot flew by, grazing his leg. And then, through the storm, came the sniper. Close now. Real. Alive. And worse than any nightmare. He walked with slow, deliberate steps, unfazed by the flames, immune to the screams of wind and death. His cloak dragged behind him, shredded but still intact. A long scar ran from the side of his face to his jawline, ice-burned, ancient. His weapon looked like it had seen 100 battles. The wood was cracked, the barrel fused from multiple types of steel. It shouldn't have functioned. But it did. Better than any alien tech ever had. He raised it slowly, the old bolt-action rattling. Krell stood. Blood soaked down his armor. His rifle was half-fried. Useless now. So he drew his blade. Old-fashioned. Forged on Krello's V. An heirloom of war. Come on then. Krell roared. Kill me like a warrior. The sniper didn't speak. He stepped forward and tossed his rifle aside. The hand-to-hand fight was savage. Krell swung first, blade arcing down toward the human's neck. But the sniper sidestepped and drove his fist into Krell's ribs. Armor dented inward. Krell stumbled, gasping. The sniper followed up, an elbow to the throat, then a knee to the gut. Krell fell back, eyes blurring. He slashed upward, caught the sniper's thigh. A grunt. Finally, a sound. But the human didn't back off. He tackled Krell into the snow, fists hammering down again and again, until Krell's visor shattered, blood dripping into his eyes. Krell reached for his knife. The sniper grabbed his wrist, twisted. Snap. Pain like fire. Krell screamed. Then the sniper leaned in close, eyes cold, voice barely above the storm. You killed my unit. You left us to rot. Krell coughed blood. It was war, you lost. The sniper didn't blink. I didn't lose. I survived. That's wise. He drove the broken knife into Krell's shoulder, pinning him to the ice. Then pulled around from his belt. Copper. Hand-etched. He showed it to Krell. It read, Krell. You were always on the list. Krell spat blood. Who are you? The sniper raised his sidearm, pressed it to Krell's forehead. I'm the cold you forgot. Bang. Only the wind remained. And the snow. The trapped valley burned for hours. But no one came. No rescue ships. No reinforcements. Just silence. 1 week later, a council scout drone skimmed the surface of Tunda 9, Colden after losing contact with the Obsidian Spay. It found no bodies. No heat. No living signals. Only a single message carved into the ice with a blade. You sent your best. I buried them in the snow. Rusted sniper. The silence was absolute. The scout drone hovered above the valley, its sensors sweeping the frozen wasteland below, searching for any sign of life, any hint that the Obsidian Spear had been there. But what it found was only death. The land was scarred, its once pristine white now stained with the remnants of soldiers' bodies, twisted in unnatural ways. Every breath of wind sent snowflakes tumbling like ash into the endless expanse. The drone's senses fled, but it wasn't searching for heat. It was searching for something more, a presence. But what it found was chilling. The valley was alive. But not with living beings. With the ghosts of men who had thought themselves invincible. The ghosts of the obsidian spear, laid low by a single figure, the rusted sniper. Inside the council warship orbiting Tunda 9, Commander Velric stood before the holographic display. His sharp, angular features were lined with frustration, but his eyes burned with a thirst for vengeance. He clenched his fists, frustration boiling under the surface. "What are you telling me?" Velric spat. "The entire battalion, wiped out by one human. One human." His aide, an exosuited soldier who had been the first to report, stepped forward, voice low. "It's confirmed, Commander. The obsidian spear is gone. No survivors. Nothing to recover but the message and their broken equipment. The sniper's still out there. The human, he is the one who did this." Velric slammed his fist against the control panel, sending the holographic images flickering. His patience was running thin. "Where is he now?" Velric demanded, voice trembling with rage. "We've narrowed down the signals. He's somewhere near the mountain range. But the snowstorm's still raging. All search efforts are futile. The human's tracking us now." On the surface of Tunda 9, in the heart of the blizzard, there was no trace of the sniper. His presence had melted into the white void like a wraith. Krell's body had been left behind, but the sniper had moved quickly, silently, knowing that the remaining obsidian soldiers would soon regroup and attempt a counterattack. And now, they were already hunting him. One last desperate push. Their arrogance, their belief that they could defeat a solitary human in an unfamiliar land, they had sealed their fate. And the sniper, he was prepared. The last 4 members of the obsidian spear were now pinned down, their movements erratic and desperate. The snow had buried their weapons. Their drones had been destroyed by the sniper's expert shots. They could hear the storm, but they couldn't feel the storm. Not the way the sniper did. He was the storm. The ice. The unyielding predator. Each of them had been given one chance to retreat. One chance to leave this cursed planet alive. But they had failed to heed the warning when it had been clear. "We're losing this fight." Private Kex's voice crackled through his comlink. His breath came in ragged gasps as he looked around. There were no supplies left. Only empty guns. Another explosion from a distance. "Stay focused," Krell ordered, his voice gruff and low. "We have one option left. Get to the escape pods." But they hadn't gotten that far. Before Krell could speak again, there was a noise, a crackle, and then the low rumble of snow breaking. The sound was horrifying, almost preternatural, like an ominous sigh. His instincts fled. They were being stalked. The sniper was closing in. "Get ready. We fight to the death." Krell ordered. The storm howled, shaking the trees, sending snow flying in every direction. The wind made everything feel far away, distant. Yet the sniper moved like he was part of it, untouched, unbothered. His movements precise, calculated, deadly. He could see them. He could hear their breathing. They thought the storm was on their side. They thought the cold would save them. But the storm wasn't his enemy. He was the storm. Private Kex fired his weapon into the white abyss, his aim shaking. He'd been on edge ever since he'd realized the sniper was closer than they thought. They had no chance to track him. No chance to anticipate him. His rifle was loud, pathetic against the backdrop of silence. A shot rang out. Kex's scream echoed, but it was swallowed by the wind. His chest exploded in a cloud of blood. He crumpled to the snow, a final, futile twitch. The sniper didn't even wait for the body to hit the ground before moving again. The sniper, his ear. Krell shouted. Suddenly, another soldier fell, this one gunned down in the distance, a hole blown clean through his back. It was like the sniper knew the exact moment of vulnerability, always striking at the heart, at the core. Krell screamed into the void, rallying the remaining soldiers. But deep inside, he knew what they were up against. The sniper moved silently, barely a shadow in the whiteout. And then, in the dead of night, it was just Krell. Alone. He couldn't breathe. His vision swam in and out of focus. His pulse pounded in his head. Blood trickled from his shoulder where the sniper's bullet had torn through his armor. He reached for the flare gun at his belt. Krell tried to lift it, but it slipped from his hand. The last of his squad had fallen. The fight was over. All that was left now was a single man, the last ghost standing. The sniper appeared then, from the very storm itself. His cloak flowed behind him like a shadow in motion, impossibly cold, unbroken by the storm. His eyes gleamed through the mask. "You," Krell coughed, trying to get his bearings. "You could have let me go." The sniper didn't answer. He raised his sidearm, aiming directly at Krell's heart. Krell tried to stand, but his legs gave out beneath him. His breath was a rasp. His vision was failing. The sniper's voice, so quiet in the endless wind, was almost a whisper. "You killed my squad. I don't forget." He stepped forward. "I don't forgive. This war's over." With a single, flawless motion, the sniper pulled the trigger. The end of the obsidian spay. The winds howled as Krell's lifeless body hit the ice, blood staining the snow. A final, brief life, extinguished. His squad's bodies would remain where they had fallen, like discarded toys, cold, unfeeling, and forgotten. The scout drone continued its passive survey, capturing images of the ruined valley. There was no resistance. No enemy to face. No battle left to fight. Above the valley, the council warship watched silently. The reports had come in clear. The rusted sniper had wiped out the obsidian spay. But there was something else. In the distance, beyond the wreckage, the sniper was still moving. The message he had left had been more than just a warning. It had been a legacy. And it wasn't over. Above the snow-capped mountains, the warship of the Galactic Council hovered like an ancient predator waiting for its prey. In the heart of that warship, Commander Velric paced back and forth. His gaze was fixated on the holomap, his fingers drumming the console in frustration. Every strike from the human sniper had been more precise than the last. Every body that fell seemed to send a ripple through the ranks of the obsidian spay. The last report had confirmed that Krell, the final soldier, was dead. The sniper had wiped them all out, and there was no denying it. But Velric, ever defiant, refused to let this defeat go unpunished. He could not allow this human, this mere man, to continue mocking his forces. "We've underestimated him long enough," Velric muttered to himself. His fist slammed against the holotable, a resounding noise in the empty war room. "It ends today." On the frozen surface of Tunda 9, a figure stirred beneath the snow. He had been here for hours, lying in wait, letting the storm cover his movements. The rusted sniper wasn't just a man, he was a force of nature. His body was battered and blooded from the battle, but his mind was clear. The Council's arrogance had sealed their fate. But the warship was still up there. And there was unfinished business. The sniper didn't rise immediately. Instead, he took a moment to assess. The battle had been brutal, but there was no doubt that it wasn't over. They'd sent the obsidian spy to kill him. Now, they'd have to send something far worse. He was ready. In the command center of the warship, a final strike force was preparing to deploy. Velric's voice echoed through the metal chambers, commanding the elite operatives who would bring the sniper to justice. "We've outfitted the best. No more errors. This human will not escape. He will die here." The operatives, tall, armored figures, nodded silently as they geared up. They were more advanced than the obsidian spay. They were genetic warriors, bred for precision and efficiency. Their armor was designed to withstand the sniper's rifle, and their weapons were far more devastating. The countdown began. They would deploy, hunt the human, and bring back the proof of their victory. The sniper moved again, silently as a shadow, drifting between the jagged rocks. His eyes narrowed, scanning the sky, watching the warship hover overhead. He could sense the change in the atmosphere. The Council wasn't coming to negotiate. They were coming to kill. In the distance, he saw the first of the drop pods descending through the storm. They were fast, too fast for regular soldiers to catch up with. But the sniper was no ordinary man. He calculated the trajectory with precision, his rifle ready, his breathing controlled. They thought they were superior. They thought the storm would hide them. But all they had done was set the stage for their own destruction. The first pod landed with a thundering impact, sending a shockwave through the ice beneath it. The warriors inside disembarked, their boots leaving deep impressions in the snow. They moved in perfect unison, their helmets scanning the horizon, their weapons raised and ready. "Form up," the lead warrior ordered, voice filtered through the helmet. "Sweep the area. No survivors." The team moved forward, their movements like clockwork. But they were not prepared for what came next. From his hidden position, the sniper took the first shot. The bullet rang out like thunder, tearing through the air and striking the leader square in the chest. He dropped, lifeless, before he even had a chance to scream. The rest of the squad scattered, but the sniper was already on the move, his next target in his sights. He squeezed the trigger again, the shot taking down another soldier. Their screams were short-lived, cut off by the sudden explosion of death. The warriors tried to return fire, but the sniper was already gone, his figure melting into the blizzard. The storm had become his ally once more. In the warship's command center, Velric watched in disbelief as his elite warriors fell one by one. "How is this possible?" Velric growled, pounding his fist on the table. "Deploy more units. We cannot let him win." Another pod launched, and another warrior was eliminated before they could even make it out of the drop zone. He cursed loudly. This was supposed to be the final battle. This was the moment where they would demonstrate their might to the universe. But instead, they were being humiliated by a single human. Velric's mind raced. They had underestimated him. No, more than that, they had misunderstood him. The sniper wasn't just some soldier. He was a hunter. He had the patience, the skill, the lethal precision to defeat anything the council threw at him. There was only one way left to win this war. The sniper was deep in the snow, moving with the certainty of a predator. He had taken down 8 of them. The bodies of his enemies lay scattered across the frozen tundra, their armored suits useless against his impeccable aim. But the last soldier, a towering figure, more machine than man, was still out there. The sniper knew this fight would be different. This soldier, the Colossus, was designed to withstand anything. A walking tank with enhanced armor and devastating firepower. The sniper had no illusions about this being a fair fight. But he didn't need fairness. He needed precision. He needed to be faster, smarter, and more relentless. The final showdown was inevitable. And it was coming now. The Colossus emerged from the storm, his armor gleaming like a brutal monument to the Council's power. "I am your death, human." His voice boomed across the snow, a mechanical growl that made the air tremble. He raised a massive energy cannon, locking his aim on the position the sniper had taken. The sniper's heart raced, but his mind was clear. He dropped to the ground, sliding into position with a grace that defied the storm. He needed one shot. One perfect moment. The Colossus fired. The blast was massive, tearing through the snow and air, but the sniper had already moved. His rifle scope found the weakness in the massive soldier's armor. The shot rang out, an almost impossibly small sound amidst the chaos of battle. The Colossus staggered, his cannon falling from his hands. He twisted, collapsing, his systems failing. The sniper stood, watching the giant collapse, his chest a gaping wound. He had done it. The war was over. Back in the warship, Velric stood in stunned silence as the final reports came through. The human had won. The Colossus, the last of the Council's elite, had fallen. Velric's face twisted in rage. His dreams of domination had crumbled, and he had no one to blame but himself. The arrogance, the underestimation, it had cost them everything. And there, in the storm, the human sniper stood, undefeated. The final shot rang out from the snow, signaling not just the end of the war, but the legacy of a single man who had turned the tide of battle. The sniper dropped his weapon and stood still, feeling the wind whip against him, the snow falling in endless waves around his form. He had given everything, and now, it was done. The reckoning had come, and the rusted sniper had won.